CP.
Are you serious? He's gone! 40, 30, Portis all the way! Touchdown Redskins, 64 yards!
26 minutes.
He's pretty sharp. He'll coach you up on the Miami guys and everything else. He's kind of fun to be around. Got an opinion, too.
I've been blessed to have the opportunity to go out and be myself and say the things that I say. And, for the outside world, they can deal with it how they deal with it.
26 minutes with Clinton Portis. CP. Teach him something.
It's your boy CP, and I'm riding it out solo today. Yes, I am actually looking forward to it. Monica is always away doing big things. It's just me and Stevie in the house today. Maybe we have Gabe stop by. Maybe not. You'll hear from Gabe soon. But right now, just as a team, I think the Washington Redskins sitting at 1-7 and dealing with a lot. As a fan, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through because I'm going through it as well. I feel exactly how you feel. It's stressful. It's hard to cheer on your team, but you got to stay positive. You got to see light at the end of the tunnel, and today is the trade deadline. So I would love to address some of the conversation going on at the park, which we're going to jump right off into it and start with our stud left tackle that's been missing MIA all season long, and Trent Williams. And will he be on the move today, as reports have come out saying they've been offered up to a second-round pick for Trent, and they're asking for a first, which I think Trent, who's a future Hall of Famer, perennial Pro Bowler, probably can pick up a first-round pick for Trent, because there's a lot of teams need a left tackle, a good left tackle, a solid left tackle. And if I'm the Washington Redskins, I think this is one of those moments where, as hard as it is to move on from Trent Williams, this is something you have to do. Because the situation got ugly, as we discussed earlier, heading into the season, that let's hope that this situation didn't get ugly. And once it got into the media, I think the situation got really messy, and the sides kind of got stubborn. Both sides got stubborn, and because the media was involved, instead of them communicating, you're here. You're at this point, and at 1-7 and facing a rebuild, which you have an early start because you have some young talent on this team. So facing a rebuild, sitting at 1-7, I think you got to start stockpiling ammunition and picks, which Trent Williams is probably your best trade bait at this moment that anyone in the NFL would want off of your team. So you make the move. And I think it's both sides just severing ties and moving on from each other. And it's something that you hate to have to deal with, because no one wants to see Trent leave this organization. But I don't think Trent is coming back to this organization, which I said in the offseason before we even got to this point, that it was about more than money and a bigger issue. And I think when you give so much to a team, you show so much love, and your production is there, and the team returned, and dealt with a lot with Trent on the flip side. But so it was on both sides. But when you're giving your all and you run into one of these stalemate points, it's not the same. Your love and focus and value for a team that you leave it all for isn't the same. And it's hard to step back onto the field after dealing with that. So I think for Trent Williams, whatever package you can get, second rounder, first rounder, if you can get it, you make the deal happen, and you move on. And, someday you retire Trent's jersey and everybody make out, and, you put him in the Ring of Fame and say thank you, because since Chris Samuels, a teammate of mine, we haven't had another dominant O-lineman outside of Trent Williams. So the appreciation is here, the respect, the admiration for Trent Williams. But, you got to move on. And I think it's good for both sides. So you possibly pick up that pick, that first or second round pick if you can. You take it and add to what you already have. And our next guy would be Josh Norman. He's been the topic of trade bait as well. I think he's owed $6 million for the rest of the year. This is another guy who I think you have to move on from. And Josh, not being put in the best situation here, not playing to his talent and putting him in position to be the Josh Norman from the Carolina Panthers that you sought after, and asking him to do something that just never really materialized to being his game. The press bell really doesn't work. It's not suited to the best of his ability. So I know he's frustrated. And, having your name in these trade talks mid-season, where you have an opportunity, maybe Josh has another 2 or 3 years if he decides he wants to play that long. Maybe this is his last hurrah. I think Josh is doing so much outside of football. It's kind of at one of those points that I think Josh has got a lot of money, and you don't know if he still has that same desire and hunger to play this game, and which is great for him. It's great for him to have so much going on off the field and having off the field success. But I think you move on from Josh. Now, what do you fetch for Josh Norman? At this point, if you can get a team to just really basically take on his salary, I think you make the move and you kind of sever those ties and wash your hands with it. I think it was high hopes for Josh Norman in coming here, and for whatever reason, D coordinator, defense, Josh, attitude toward the game, whatever it was, I think it just reached a point that it hasn't been that best cornerback in the NFL that you thought you were paying for. And here's your time to move on. And, it sucks because Josh is a good guy in this locker room. And you never want to say, oh, let's fire a guy or let's get away from a guy. But at this point, you're shedding, maybe you take a 6th or 7th round pick, and you're getting a team to take on his contract, which gives you salary cap relief moving forward. So Josh Norman, Trent Williams, I say to both of those guys, Trent, who I think probably has 4 or 5 more years in him, if he decides he wants to play that long. Josh, maybe 2 or 3 years if he decides he wants to play. But both of those guys could be on the move today, and we'll talk more when we return on 26 Minutes. The fantasy football season is right around the corner, and this season there are more ways to win than ever because FanDuel has more ways to win cash prizes and once-in-a-lifetime experiences during every single game, every single week. Never played FanDuel fantasy football before? Great, because new users get a $5 bonus with their first deposit. Sign up for the FanDuel now and get $20 in total bonus. Just make your first deposit to get started, and you'll get an extra $5 in site credit every week for 4 weeks. Go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app. Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com. Redskins defensive lineman, number 93, Jonathan Allen, hates to lose. So he's teaming up with Papa John's and you to help donate to the Sasha Bruce Youth Work, helping homeless children in our region every day. Team 93 needs you to make it a winning day for your family and these special children. You'll get a large 2-topping pizza and an order of wings for just $20. And Papa John's will donate 93 cents to Sasha Bruce Youth Work for every single order. Play to eat, play to give. but play to win, because nobody wants to lose. No Monica McNutt, just me in the building today, riding this out solo and having a discussion of trade deadline and, moving on from guys that's done a lot for this organization and just really having to sever ties, not anyone's favorite time of year, but someone has to talk about it. And on 26 Minutes, we try to keep you informed and keep it real. So therefore, we're making this discussion, which is a tough one because, as I've already said, Trent Williams, Josh Norman, guys has done a lot for this organization, could possibly be on the move by 4 p.m. today when this episode comes out, episode 63. So moving on from Josh, I think you have Case Keenum, who you could possibly fetch. It's probably that time that you move on to Haskins to finish out the season. I know it's a lot of pressure from the fan base and from the media and everyone else wanting to see what Haskins' potential is. And if you're going to start him coming back from the bye week, then that means Case Keenum would be sitting on the sideline. And instead of allowing Case Keenum to sit on the sideline due to so many injuries around the NFL at the quarterback position this year, I think you actually have some teams that could use Case. So you could possibly fetch a pick for Case Keenum because I don't think you're keeping him around next year with Alex Smith recovering with Dwayne Haskins and possible having to find someone else. So for Case Keenum, a guy who I think is a great player, 2 years ago in Minnesota when we had Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum was the second quarterback in that running that year with all the potential after taking the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship game and almost playing the Super Bowl in Minnesota. So Case is a proven veteran, which I think a lot of teams could use. And for you just picking up another 6th or 7th round, 5th, 6th or 7th rounder at this point would be a good add. And I think the toughest decision out of all of these guys would be Ryan Kerrigan, who's also been mentioned. I don't think the team will move on from Ryan Kerrigan, although he's not having his normal production. Ryan Kerrigan is one of those guys who's done everything right. It's not one of those guys you ever have to worry about having a problem. He's going to show up. He hasn't missed a game. The injury problems, he played through it. Always finds his groove at some point where he turns into a maniac coming off the edge, and been a good player for this organization for a long time. So this is probably the toughest decision that I don't think you move on from. And it's just the simple fact that Ryan Kerrigan has been the ultimate professional. I would say I don't think the Redskins are going to move on, but for me, I think this is another guy who has some potential in the market. And, maybe for Ryan in his career, if you sit down and had this conversation with Ryan, I'm sure he'd say, you know what, I started here, I would love to finish here. And he's that type of loyal individual. But at the same time, as he gets up in his career, everybody kind of want to have an opportunity to play for a contender. So, I think this is a conversation you have with Ryan about having this opportunity to move on and possibly go somewhere that could use him to finish out his career, because you see a lot of DNs and, when Ryan Kerrigan, you're looking at the consistency and the availability of Ryan Kerrigan, which I think fetches a lot, because now you don't have guys who play every week, that show up to the dance every Sunday. No matter what's going on, you don't hear a word from them. You don't hear the request for money. You know, Ryan Kerrigan is one of those guys that go to the Pro Bowl. He does everything the right way. You know, he's one of those ultimate team guys, and I think this is a hard decision to move on from, but one that can possibly get you maybe a 4th or 5th rounder if you decide to make that call, which would be a tough one. Because of the production of Ryan Kerrigan and the consistency of Ryan Kerrigan, the availability of Ryan Kerrigan. When you move on, who do you put there? You know, it's a hard guy to replace, and we've seen Preston Smith, who moved on to the Green Bay Packers, who, you know, was part of that tandem with Ryan Kerrigan for so long, get his opportunity to go to an organization, and, you know, he's playing lights out. So I think you give Ryan the same opportunity. You know, maybe it's one of those conversations where you sit down and say, hey, Ryan, are you interested in moving on in your career? Because this is probably the toughest breakup of all of these guys. This is probably the hardest one to move on from, because it's no asterisk by Ryan Kerrigan's name to say, hey, this guy's a problem. When you're going out to find guys to build a team around or to be the face of your organization, here's one of those guys who can do it. So moving on from Ryan Kerrigan, which I don't think will happen today, but just for the topic of trade deadlines, the pieces that you have available that's getting up in age that you could possibly move on, threw Ryan Kerrigan in, and we'll see what happens. Performance Player of the Week presented by Bedgear, the official mattress and pillow partner of the Washington Redskins. And this week, our performance player was none other than Adrian Peterson, your offensive MVP last season. Just moved up to 6th place on the all-time rushing list. And with that, he did it in Minnesota in a classy act by the Minnesota Vikings to recognize a guy who's done so much in that turf and that dome, that stadium, for the fans to recognize him and all of his production over the years. So this week, Performance Player of the Week, presented by Bedgear, Adrian Peterson. Well-deserved, my man. Well-deserved. Hey there, it's CP, and one of my favorite things to do is play games from the Virginia Lottery, and they just introduced a new game. It's called Print and Play Rolling Jackpot. It's a Virginia-only instant win game, and it has a starting jackpot of $50,000. The jackpot increases with each ticket sold until the jackpot is won. There are no play slips to fill out, and no waiting for a drawing. Just purchase, play, and check to see if you won. It's that easy. A $2 ticket can win 20% of the jackpot. A $5 ticket can win 50% of the jackpot. And a $10 ticket can win 100% of the jackpot. For each price point, the odds of winning the top prize are 1 in 240,000. Look for it at your favorite Virginia Lottery retailer. Bring your team to cheer on our team. Plan your next company outing, gathering of family and friends, holiday or birthday party with the Washington Redskins. Visit redskins.com/group tickets or call or text 301-276-6033 for more information on group ticket benefits. Huddle up with the DC Lottery for the Lucky Tailgate Tour, Tuesday, October 29th at Giants Food/City Market at O Street in Northwest D.C. from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're celebrating the touchdown DC Scratcher. Still two top prizes of $50,000 available, with the winning roster packed full of exceptional scoring opportunities, including cash prizes, official Redskins team gear, and game tickets to see the Redskins versus New York on November 17th. Get on the winning team with the DC Lottery. Check dclottery.com for all the details. DC Lottery. Lots of people win.
I'm trying to meet that boy Clinton Portis, though. They say he's smooth on his feet. I'm trying to teach him something.
Teach him something.
Teach him something.
Episode 64, we're in the books. Tough conversation today. On the solo tip, moving on from guys that's done a lot for the organization. Will we or won't we? You know, that's the question. But after moving on, you got to have something to look forward to. And I think just media attention and everyone is waiting for the opportunity to see Dwayne Haskins under center. And, earlier we had the conversation about moving on from Case Keenum, possibly fetching a late round pick for him. If you do this, you're turning the keys over to Dwayne Haskins, a guy who I felt like needed until at least the bye week before you put him on the field. I know Joe T said he don't want to see him on the field the entire season, but I think with all the pressure and all of the other young quarterbacks having their opportunity, here's a guy that you took in the first round that the fan base, the media, and everyone else is waiting on you to show what he's capable of or put him on the field so the world can get a chance to kind of decide if he's ready to play, if he's NFL ready. So I think this is a move that's possibly going to be made after the bye week, where you get Dwayne Haskins as a starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins. And when you get Dwayne Haskins on the field, you have to look at all the pieces around Dwayne Haskins. And if you're setting him up to be the best player that you could possibly be, and you have to understand we have to endure the growth of Haskins this season because you're putting him in a situation and you're asking him to do so much. You have to understand the process, and you have to go through the good times and the bad times with Dwayne without turning your back on him and without booing him and without hoping to draft Tua in the next draft or to draft one of these young quarterbacks coming out. So handing the keys over to Haskins, who I think has grown. You got an opportunity to see him come in where he was already behind in games. We haven't had an opportunity to see him come out with the score 0-0 to carry this team. So here's your chance as you're 1-7 and you're starting to think about draft position and everything else, and you have your draft pick from last year, a guy that everyone is waiting to see, and Darius Geis, who's back on the field practicing, and he's possibly returning after the bye week. So here's your future. Here's your opportunity to look at your future with Haskins and Geis. You're putting these guys on the field and giving them a chance to get a fan base something to look forward to. When you put these guys on the field, as Geis had actually been announced to start at the beginning of the season and went down in the first game, so we hadn't had an opportunity to see him anymore after not being on the field last year due to injury as well. So do you rush Geis back and put him out in this situation, or do you kind of sacrifice and hope that he gets bigger, stronger, faster over the offseason, and you give him an opportunity? I think it's hard to say you're going to continuously get opportunities to recover in the NFL, which this is his second season, and he's played in one game up to this point. So this is a guy who's put in the work to get back. Now you have to make a decision. Are you going to risk losing him for this season? Because this is kind of one of those situations where you're 1-7, you're starting to look at guys, you're starting to evaluate guys and make up your mind to see, hey, do we have something we can build off of? Do we have some potential at this position? Can this guy carry this team? And you're going to start separating from guys. So when you're looking at that situation, do you put Geis on the field? I think Geis is one of those guys who's so eager to be on the field. He wants to be on the field. He wants to compete. He wants to give it his all. And you got to kind of hold him back from himself. So as an organization, do you starting to look at the pieces to the puzzle, because if you put Haskins on the field and, you have a lot of potential with Terry McLaurin, their connection, you have Geis, if Geis comes back healthy, you have some guys to build on. Do you look forward to having these guys next year, or do you risk dealing with any injury or potentially losing one of these guys this year? It's a tough situation where you, as an organization, all you're worried about and concerned about is right now. But in the front office, you have to say, you know what, let's be honest with ourselves. If these are the guys we're going to build around and build with, then let's be honest with ourselves. And how do we move with these guys? How do we move with these guys? How do we give these guys the best opportunity to showcase their talent? Because if you sit down Terry McLaurin, then it's kind of pointless to put Haskins on the field, because you're not giving him a playmaker. You're not giving him the big-time wide receiver to go with the big arm of Dwayne Haskins. You have a lot of questions that you don't have answers for. So you got to start looking around. Vernon Davis, another guy, who hasn't been on the field, the tight end position. So you got to start evaluating and looking at these guys and saying, hey, what do we do that's strategic? Because this is a plan. This is not, we're winging it week in, week out. This is a plan. And with this plan, this is how we're moving forward. We're going to have this guy and this guy that's going to carry this organization next year. So we got to put them in position to lead us. And it's a tough decision, but we'll find out. We'll know some answers by the time episode 65 roll around. We could address who's still in the building and who's not, and how you move forward on it. And we got to look forward to it.
Are uninvited pests ruining your plans? Let PMSI, the pest control partner of the Washington Redskins, handle it for you. Call today for your free inspection, and they'll work around your schedule to provide you the best solution possible to defend your home territory against pests of all kinds, including mold. Visit mypmsi.com for the game plan to control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com.
At Coke, our 67,000 U.S. employees make things that make your game days better, like fertilizer for greener turf and stronger paper products for tailgating. Viewing the game from your couch? Coke also makes the electronic components in TVs and smart devices so you can watch your Redskins victory anywhere. Coke, we make that. See it all at KOCHmakesthat.com. That's CokeMakesThat.com.
Locally owned Novec has competitive rates and some of the highest customer satisfaction ratings among electric utilities in Virginia. Novec members are receiving more than $4 million in cashback credits in December, and they enjoy the most reliable power in the region. Novec is growing its renewable energy supply, including more solar. Novec, power you can trust.
Time to tailgate. We have my Honda CR-V with class-leading cargo space, so I can bring the grill. Cousin Bobby's Honda Pilot with seating for 8, and my brother's Honda Ridgeline loaded with fun features like in-bed speakers and an in-bed trunk. Nothing left to do now but sit back and wait for kickoff. Who wants a hot dog?
Get more this season with a great deal on a new Honda, perfect for tailgating. See your local Honda dealer today.
Hi, it's Larry Michael with the Redskins Park Update. The team back on the practice field on Wednesday, getting set for Sunday's matchup in Buffalo against the 5-2 Bills. You can hear Bill Callahan at the podium after the Wednesday practice. Also on Thursday and Friday, you can hear from Greg Minuski and offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell. Redskins 1-7, headed to Buffalo this weekend looking for a victory. That's today's Redskins Park Update. I'm Larry Michael.